Good evening, members of the Port of Entry Advisory Committee. Yvette Limon, Bridge Director and Committee Liaison for the record. I call this meeting to order at 6:07 p.m. We are located here at City Hall, 1110 Houston Street, Council Chambers. And I'll start with the roll call. Mr. Rafael Miner,
Rafael Miners.
Mr. J.D. Gonzalez,
Present.
Mr. Guillermo Tich,
Present.
Mr. Jean Lindgren,
Present.
Mr. Luis Hinojosa,
Present.
Mr. Rafael Dueñas,
Present.
Mr. Arturo Dominguez,
Present.
Mr. Hermilo Richet,
Present.
Mr. William Young,
Present.
Ms. Monica Salinas,
Present.
Mr. Jerry Maldonado,
Present.
and virtual. Who do we have online on the Zoom meeting?
Gonzalo Prida.
Mr. Gonzalo Prida. Who else? Who else do we have on Zoom? No one else? We have a quorum. Citizen comments? Do we have any citizen comments?
Good afternoon, esteemed committee and board members. My name is Alistair Love. I own and manage a digital consultancy for ports, logistics associations, Mexican customs brokers, trucking. 10 years of experience in implementing digital technology for Fortune 500 companies. I'm attending today as I think that the issue and the challenge is interesting, and from a concerned committee basis, it seems to me that there is an opportunity to facilitate, which I believe is part of the mission statement or the port statement, the drivers and operators communication with the city. Emerging technologies like chatbots can augment tools that the city owns and manages today. I understand that there's a significant investment in AVI and experience with it, but from what little I have seen from the news, and that's why I'm here as part of the logistics and trade community, I wanted to introduce myself and my great interest in this project, and if there was interest in chatbots, which represent an opportunity to facilitate communication with the drivers and owners, please count on me as a resource. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, item Roman numeral 4, approval of the minutes. If I can entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Arturo Dominguez.
Second, Rafael Dueñas.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Roman numeral 5, items for discussion. Item number 1, discussion with possible action to elect the chairman and vice chairman for the Port of Entry Advisory Committee and any other matters incident thereto. Following the motion from the meeting of July 21st, 2021, I was to poll which I have, and some of the nominees have declined the nomination. So I will read the names of the committee members that did accept the nomination, and then entertain a motion if there are any other nominations here today that did not come through email, and then we'll vote on the chairman. Committee member Monica Salinas was nominated for chairman. Do you accept?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Arturo Dominguez was nominated for chairman. Mr. Dominguez, do you accept?
Yes, I accept.
Are there any other motions to add any other nominations other than the ones that were already provided to me that did not accept the nomination?
Ms. Limon, could you clarify, are the other two names from your email today also in consideration?
Can you say that again?
Are the other two names that were from your email yesterday considered for nominations also? We had Mr. Gerardo Maldonado and
Yes.
Mr. Guillermo
Yes.
Tich.
And Mr. Maldonado has expressed that he does not want the nomination.
Oh, okay.
As well as Mr. Guillermo Tisch had declined the nomination for chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, if I can entertain a motion to accept the two nominations?
Motion to accept, Teddy.
Second.
All right, and I'm gonna take roll call for the vote. Mr. Rafael Minor,
Mónica Salinas.
Mr. J.D. Gonzalez,
Arturo Dominguez.
Mr. Tisch,
Mónica Salinas.
Mr. Lindgren,
Monica Salinas.
Mr. Hinojosa,
Mónica Salinas.
Mr. Dueñas,
Miss Salinas.
Mr. Dominguez,
Myself.
Mr.
Arturo Dominguez.
Mr. Young,
Mónica.
Ms. Monica, myself, Mr. Maldonado,
Mónica Salinas.
okay, Mr. Prida,
Arturo Domínguez.
thank you. Okay, we have 8 votes for Monica Salinas and 4 votes for Arturo Dominguez. So, Ms. Salinas,
Thank you.
you will be the chairman, and I'll let you take over the meeting. If you would like to sit where Mr. Lindgren is as the chairman. Congratulations. I will make note of the nominees for vice chairman. Mr. Arturo Dominguez,
I'll decline.
Mr. Milo Richard,
I accept.
all right, and Mr. Guillermo Tisch.
I'd accept.
Okay, these are the 2 committee members that have been nominated and accepted for the position of vice chairman. If you'd like to take roll call.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Limon. We're gonna take the roll call for the voting on the vice chair. Mr. Jerry Maldonado,
Milo Richard.
Mr. Villar,
Myers. Mr. Guillermo Tich.
JD,
Emilio Richard.
Mr. Tich,
Myself.
Luis,
Emilio Richard. Emilio Richard y Salinas.
Arturo Dominguez,
Emilio Richard.
Myself, Armilo Richard. Miro.
Mr. Jean Lindgren,
Emilio Richard.
And Mr.
Um,
Prida?
Mr. Prida,
Emilio Richard.
and my vote for Mr. Teach. So the counting of the votes, it's 3 votes for Mr. Teach, and 9 votes for Mr. Richard. Congratulations, Mr. Richard. We are working together as co-chair.
Congratulations, Milo.
Pleasure, Monica. Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Now on the agenda, we are going to have the item number 2. It's the presentation by SAD Administrador regarding the PITA. It's a Proyecto Integración Tecnológica Aduanera. It's a program and any other matter incident thereto.
Si quiere abrir.
Buenas tardes. Sorry, I know speaking English.
No hay problema.
Va a ser en...
Puede ser en español, no hay problema.
Bien. Nuevamente un saludo de parte del administrador de la aduana. Él se encuentra ahorita en una comisión en la Ciudad de México. Me encargó que viniera a hacer la presentación. Entonces, aquí la finalidad de la presentación, como ya sabrán, es el proyecto de integración tecnológica aduanal PITA. Es con la finalidad de acelerar el proceso de cruce de los vehículos del despacho aduanero.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I have your name? I'm sorry. Your name? Su nombre, por favor.
Soy el Francisco de Asís García Terrada, subadministrador de la aduana de Nuevo Laredo.
Gracias y bienvenido.
Creo que tenemos una falla. Me está marcando una falla. No está leyendo la información.
Es el fondo.
Ya nos empezó a hablar de cómo se está y ahora veo que...
No, pero es el fondo que no lo tienen aquí.
No, no lo sé. No tiene...
No creo que puedo ver aquí.
Sí. Toda la información está...
Vamos. Contestación encriptada.
así. No tengo... No tengo que se cambió y...
Ok, entonces tenemos una vaya con lo que es con el escrito, pero pues lo vemos si me permiten, como dijera Vicente Fernández a capela.
Bienvenido, siéntase en confianza.
Gracias. Bueno, el motivo principal pues de la presentación es ver en lo que consiste este proyecto de integración tecnológica aduanera con iniciales PITA. Este proyecto es una implementación que se ha venido realizando ya en el resto de las aduanas de México, en diferentes. Tenemos desde el 2018, si mal no recuerdo, en que se empezó a realizar la integración la implementación de este proyecto en diferentes aduanas, precisamente Tijuana, Reynosa, bueno, aquí Nuevo Laredo, y con la finalidad de agilizar y darle mayor, pues tenerla, es parte de combatir lo que es no sé la palabra, contrabando, pero no es contrabando, la corrupción que puede existir entre el personal, ¿sí? Ya que lo que es totalmente tecnológico, es el seguimiento del sistema SAI, con prácticamente el sistema, pues les diré que el sistema es la total automatización de la modulación de los cruces que se hacen por la frontera. ¿Qué es lo que nos va a permitir esta automatización? Como digo, evitar la corrupción hasta cierta forma, combatir lo que es la seguridad nacional por parte de México, ¿sí? En el cruce de México hacia acá en Cervantes, ¿sí? De aquí hacia México, pues lo que son el cruce de armas, numerarias, y lo que es comúnmente conocemos como contrabando. ¿Por qué lo vamos a combatir? Pues simplemente porque no está interviniendo ya la mano del hombre, ya todo está automatizado. Estamos en un proceso aquí en Nuevo Laredo de creación, de modificación, de implementación, el cual nos va a estar dando frutos arrojado con un mayor número de cruce de transportes. ¿En qué consiste? Pues simplemente llega el vehículo, bueno, por medio de un gafete, ¿sí? Gafete único que está, no se ve, bueno, el pequeño, no se alcanza a ver. El pequeño es el gafete que tenemos ahí de transportistas, se les pide, y ahí en ese gafete va ya incrustado todo lo que son los pedimentos, toda la información para el cruce de la mercancía, el despacho aduanero de la mercancía que se va a importar o exportar según sea el caso. Posteriormente a eso llega el transportista y lo único que tiene que hacer, como las tarjetas tags que usamos para lo que es cruce de vehículos de cambio, nada más presentarlo y leerá toda la lectura y ahí nos va a arrojar lo que es lo que conocemos como reconocimiento rojo y verde, ¿sí? Y ahí pasa, si es de estacionamiento libre, pues cruzará directamente hasta la salida. Si es reconocimientos, pues tendrá que pasar a plataforma y llevar ahí. Aquí nos vamos a dar cuenta también, bueno, está sirviendo para que se toma todas las instrucciones, las medidas de la información que trae, incluyendo lo que es el agente aduanal, lo que es bueno, aquí por el transportista, la carga que trae, y ya no se va a tener que estar pistoleando, no se va a tener que estar... Estamos aquí hablando de una rapidez, bueno, ahorita con lo que he estado haciendo pruebas o pasando ya los cruces que estamos todavía con algunas pequeñas fallas por como estamos, es tenemos hasta de 0 segundos. O sea, parece increíble que sea de 0 segundos. Pero sí, esto nos va primeramente en el momento de salida. Se checa a la entrada y se checa en la salida por el mismo sistema de pita. ¿Sí? Tenemos de 5 segundos en la entrada, máximo 10, si todo nos va bien, y ya es mayor la rapidez que tenemos. Como les mencioné, pues aquí no es el proceso humano, todo es directamente automatizado. Esto entra en lo que se llama prácticamente, se está llamando la era digitalizada de las aduanas, una aduana digital, prácticamente. El cruce que estamos esperando que tengamos ahorita con esta implementación ya al nivel de todos los carriles, estamos esperando que sea entre 20 y 24 mil cruces diarios. ¿Sí? Ahorita en la actualidad estamos entre 11,000 a 16,000 cruces. Como estamos ahorita se está trabajando en la forma dual, tanto con pita como carga normal, con el reconocimiento de los pedimentos con pistoleo. En el modo de importación tenemos 21 carriles para importar, para ir de aquí de cruce, para el cruce de aquí de Estados Unidos a México, de los cuales ya concluidos tenemos 11 carriles pita de carga y tenemos un carril pita de vacíos. Tenemos otros 2 carriles de vacíos, el cual son, bueno, 3 carriles más de vacíos. Uno se verifica por medio de rayos gamma y 2 más se verifican por medio de vehículo que se llama ZBB, de rayos X por rayos X. Y ahorita la salida la estamos haciendo únicamente de vacíos por únicamente un carril. Estamos pendientes de que continuemos con la construcción de otros 3 carriles para aligerar más el cruce, que se ha detectado realmente que es uno de los problemas que se tienen que hacen un cuello de botella y van atorando, van alentando el cruce de los vehículos de carga. Por carga, vehículos ahorita están funcionando 4 carriles de carga normal y 2 de vacío y el otro que tenemos. En salida tenemos de cruces pita, uno para vacíos, el cual no lo tenemos, consideramos que no es costeable el empleo de este carril o de este sistema pita vacíos en la virtud de que hace un doble chequeo. Lo chequea en el momento de la entrada y posteriormente vuelve a hacerlo el mismo. Entonces alenta mucho el flujo y tomando en consideración que es la única salida con la que contamos para vacíos. Pues sí, se puso a prueba y se optó por eliminarlo de momento hasta que tengamos los demás carriles para tener este proceso. Y tenemos 2 pitas de carga. ¿Sí? Lo demás lo estamos poniendo en lo que es exportación. Tenemos un pita vacío y tenemos 3 pita carga. Lo demás está fluyendo por medio de la lectura normal que tenemos, por medio de los pedimentos y por medio de la lectura de los dodas. En la proyección, pues desgraciadamente no se ve. Este es el gafete que mencionaba de ahí de lo que está bien con la información. Son los documentos de operación o DODAS que nos pueden, con la información que entra en estos QRs, pues ya viene toda la información. No sé qué haya pasado con la proyección. De esto tenemos un centro de control, un centro de monitoreo que incluye el sistema de PITA para llevar a cabo la atención al transportista y poder aclarar sus dudas. Desgraciadamente, no somos totalmente independientes, la aduana no es independiente, estamos sujetos a lo que es la tecnología, y la tecnología, pues como todos sabemos, está sujeta a lo que es energía eléctrica, a pesar de que contamos con plantas electrónicas, sobre todo para los aparatos no intrusivos, para lo que es todo lo del sistema del SAT y también para lo que es del sistema. Cada uno de esos tiene una planta de energía independiente que es suficiente para ponerlo. Pero cuando nos pasa cada una caída, nos produce un intervalo que el sistema se nos va. Entonces hay que reiniciarlo y nos está produciendo esto un pequeño retraso, lo cual ocasiona, si lo vemos ahorita de un cruce con el sistema de 10 a 15 segundos, si lo hacemos por 5 minutos, ¿cuánto nos lo va a retroceder? ¿Sí? Incrementando lo que es el sistema el cruce de vacíos, pues se nos va a incrementar un poco la carga, lo que ha originado pues que se nos incrementen o se hagan las largas filas aquí en el lado americano. Se continúa trabajando con la implementación del sistema al fin de que tengamos concluido esto de los 20 a 24 mil cruces. Estamos hablando en un futuro para cuando tengamos todo el sistema ya bien establecido, los 21 carriles, lo cual se estima que esté para el día finales del mes de diciembre. El mes de diciembre ya por obligatoriedad, por obligación,
Perdón,
todos los cruces.
¿qué día dijo?
¿Perdón?
¿Qué fecha fue en diciembre?
En diciembre, a finales de diciembre, no una
No
fecha,
tenemos
pues
la
no
fecha.
tenemos porque ya sabemos que todo es. De hecho ya en agosto era la fecha. ¿De qué depende en gran parte que funcione esto? Pues mucho es de las propias agencias aduaneras, los propios transportistas, que se actualicen, que se apeguen a los requerimientos que tiene el sistema. ¿Sí? Las fallas que se han presentado actualmente, con lo que hemos contado, aparte de las fallas eléctricas, ¿sí? Hemos tenido fallas, todo esto está centralizado en México, lo de los sistemas. Entonces, si México tiene un problema, pues no recae. Ya hemos tenido la caída de sistema a nivel nacional, ¿sí? No muy seguido, pero sí se tiene. Y el otro tipo de falla es precisamente cuando no se lee bien el gafete, que el operador o el agente, bueno, el transportista o el agente aduanal, según corresponda, no cargue el pedimento, llega al momento de hacer su lectura y nos manda una falla. ¿Sí? Esta falla, pues obviamente, nos alenta otra vez el sistema. La costumbre del conductor es de que maneja muy pegado y para reactivar el sistema tenemos que hacer al tracto camión, lo tenemos que hacer hacia atrás y reiniciar el sistema. ¿Sí? O bien sacar un impedimento. El maltrato de los gafetes también es otro impedimento que no falla, o sea, ya están en mal uso, pues es un problema también que tenemos. Por acciones del administrador se incrementaron, pues, puso más gente para darles más servicio a usuarios y que puedan estar actualizando y tener cumplir con los requisitos y tener todos sus gafetes y hacer posibles. Pues depende no tanto de uno la situación, sino prácticamente ya de la infraestructura que se tiene. La aduana tiene la mejor de las voluntades, el personal, créanme, tiene la mejor de la voluntad de hacer su trabajo y nos estamos apegando a los lineamientos que hemos recibido de aduana central para dar cumplimiento pues y dar mayor fluidez. La estimación que se tiene digamos, la promesa, no sé, cuál sea, es de ser la aduana representativa pues, de toda América Latina. ¿Sí? O sea, contamos ahorita la aduana como la número 1 a nivel nacional y por ahí creo que es por la número 3 a nivel mundial. Entonces queremos continuar manteniendo ese liderato, ¿sí? Y cómo lo hacemos, obviamente, prestando un mejor servicio, sobre todo. No sé, alguna inquietud, no, desgraciadamente no hay. Sí.
Licenciado, una sugerencia. En el tema de los gafetes, tratar de dar facilidades para que todo el mundo se pueda inscribir y se puedan obtener, porque tengo entendido que muchos transportistas están batallando con eso, entonces esa es una parte. Y segundo punto, en el tema de las agencias aduanales, cuando las propias agencias aduanales hacen los cruces, los despachadores son quienes traen el transporte y vienen manejando. Entonces, como tal, existe un rol dentro del gafete del despachador, pero no como transportista. Entonces, si tratamos de meter un embarque pita a un gafete de un despachador, el sistema no lo permite. Entonces, habría que buscarle ahí el permitirle al despachador que abra el rol también de transportista para poderle asignar un cruce y pueda entonces, por tal motivo, activar el mecanismo pita para poder presentar el embarque. Esa es la...
Ok, al respecto, la semana pasada vinieron de ACOA, de la Agencia Central de Operaciones, se tuvo 3 entrevistas tanto con las agencias aduanales de Nuevo Laredo como, bueno, una agencia aduanal y 2 transportistas, y tienen la misma inquietud. De hecho, ellos están haciendo el ofrecimiento para ponerse a nuestro servicio para agilizar este sistema. Lo vieron con el personal que vino a la Ciudad de México. Se está trabajando incluso al respecto. Lo que es transportistas, ellos están solicitando prácticamente, quieren mantener esa cuestión. Se les hizo la indicación. Bueno, vamos a suponer que esta sea una... El problema que puede existir es de que se les dan 10 cruces, ¿sí? Pero en el Inter tuvieron un problema mecánico, les tocó rojo, ya no hay entonces quieren lo que usted dice, que ese aduanal les haga darlo de baja y reasignársele a otro transportista. ¿Sí? Eso se puede hacer, eso se va a poder hacer, ya se está trabajando sobre ello. La cuestión es nada más darlo de baja del que ya no puede cruzar. Tenemos un problema al respecto de que muchas veces que llega el chofer y pues no alcanza a ver y nos han manifestado que porque van retrovisando ven el número invertido, ¿sí? Entonces agarran otra caja en lugar y se viene la problemática del cruce, de los pedimentos, de los problemas. Entonces,
Fíjese, perdón, el tema de lo que dice, justamente, ¿sabe qué pasa si me voy a presentar a cruce yo y el compañero y pedimos esos 2 transfers? Entonces puede ser que le asignen ese cruce a él y a mí, pero al final de cuentas nada más lo hago yo y él no lo hace. Entonces dentro del listado que tiene el asignado se le va a ver de que se dé de baja el viaje que ya se le quedó el que no hizo. Por otra parte, tengo entendido que hay un aplicativo que es obligación del transfer, ver lo que tiene en el cruce y que verifique que el viaje que va a hacer y va a presentar a la aduana es ese, porque como dice, entonces hay que prestar atención y cuidado en eso. Nada más debería de haber una cierta, un periodo de aceptación para...
Sí, Chairman.
Sí, adelante.
Yo aquí veo en realidad como que nos falta un plan B. ¿Me
Exacto.
explico? Nos falta un plan de salida. Cuando nosotros empezamos a mutar al pedimento simplificado, mandábamos en papel también. Entonces, si el sistema no lo leía, pues ustedes tenían por la facilidad de poderlo revisar. Entonces, aquí los gafetes sí se me complica porque ustedes tienen asignados en PITA un chofer y un camión, ¿verdad? Si el chofer se enferma o falla por cualquier cosa, necesitamos un sistema de sustitución, poder sustituir ese chofer rápidamente. Nada más que los agentes nos va a reponer. Entonces no va a ser fácil, no va a ser rápido. Esperemos que eso no sea en la línea. El mismo problema lo vamos a tener con el camión. Si el camión se descompone, falla, no llega, se tarda en rojo, en intensivo. También el plan B de poder sustituir el camión. Y el problema más grave lo vamos a tener en los consolidados parte 1, parte 2. ¿Por qué? Porque vienen 2 trailers con el mismo pedimento y con diferentes nombres de chofer. Entonces yo creo que aquí tendremos que trabajar en un plan B. Incluso metiéndome a la tecnología, que no es mi fuerte, yo he visto que en los bancos hay unos sistemas de energía ininterrumpible muy poderosos que por segundos ingresan. Yo creo que están un sistema de estos para evitar las deficiencias de electricidad que tenemos en toda la frontera, cuando menos en toda la frontera norte, que es la que nos preocupa más, ¿no? Porque de alguna manera estamos ligados. A ustedes nos afecta y nosotros pues la fila llega hasta la 35, hasta la carretera, son 10, 15 millas de fila y sí se nos genera un caos acá también. Hemos tratado de aquí de implementar cómo ayudarlos, pero también necesitamos que nos ayuden, que cuando menos también nos contesten un poquito las llamadas o algo para saber nosotros si llamamos policía o hacer algo acá. Ya terminó, Artur. Aquí lo tenemos la muestra de allá para acá. Hay un tope, un bumper, y ahí se quedan. Y mientras el modulador no le haga la señal, pues no puede pasar. Y si pasa, pues al fideicomiso un ticketcito, ¿no? Una multita o algo, para educarnos a mantener esa distancia y no venir defensa con defensa y afectar el sistema, la lectura del sistema, ¿verdad? Entonces yo creo que sí lo podemos implementar. Lo más complicado es tener ese plan B para poder sustituir choferes,
Una pregunta nada más. En los últimos 30 días, ¿cuántas veces se ha caído el sistema PITA?
Lo hemos tenido momentáneamente inestable, o sea, caída completo, creo que nada fue una vez cuando tuvimos un buen tiempo. Y ahorita, incluso ahorita en la mañana, todavía tuvimos unas pequeñas fallas que tenemos. Todavía tenemos el personal de la mientras tengamos o que todo esto se solucione bien. El plan B, perdón, no sé si... Sí, lo del plan B, yo pienso que la cuestión de, que le digo, que el propio operador, cuando tiene la falla, se me descompuso, ahí mismo puede tomar su teléfono y él mismo puede dar de baja y reportar para que se le asigne otro al transportista. ¿Sí? O sabes que me tocó rojo, voy a estar aquí, el verificador no me hace caso, como lo que pueda pasar, se me ponchó la llanta o cualquier cosa. Esperamos que no pase ahí, que no sea un accidente más grave. Pero digamos, ya es un retraso, entonces sabes que no voy a poder, estoy aquí, se quita no es tanto, yo pienso que ahí entraría el transportista para ponerlo, eso es para que se haga de esa forma, nos lo comentaron ahí. Si yo vengo por la caja número 3, sí, pero la 3, 8 y la 9 y la 3 quedó hasta el final, ¿qué es lo que hace el operador? Agarro la 7 y me voy, ¿no? El mismo transportista o operador puede seleccionar el número de pedimento. Bueno, es el plan B, o sea, y la otra, la número 3, la deje posterior. Entonces ya ella no va a batallar. No sé si a eso... Son las mejoras que se están haciendo, sí, las mejoras que se le están haciendo a la aplicación Activin para entre las tres ya ven que, bueno, lo que es la legislación aduanal nos dice que no dice quién en sí es el responsable. Por ahí, pues para mí sería transportista, porque como dice usted bien, yo sé qué es lo que traigo, qué es lo que debo de traer. Todo pita. No, fue el sistema. ¿Qué va a pasar? Se lo preguntamos a Cuá. Pruebas un producto para que no quedarnos sin sistema en el momento de que tengamos una situación de este tipo. Y ellos manejaron un plan tipo 3, que es lo que usted mencionaba, pues ya con papeleo, que pues hay que darle un...
Buenas tardes. Una pregunta, y es exactamente en ese tema de qué pasa cuando se cae el sistema. Actualmente el operador llega a la aduana, un camión que venga de Nuevo Laredo a Laredo, Texas, por decirlo, trae su pedimento en papel. Puede llegar ahorita todavía ese pedimento, correcto. Y ya de ahí pues ve si es verde o rojo, por decirlo así. En el sistema nuevo todo va a estar en un gafete, el cual lo va a leer un sistema automático y ya no va a tener que el operador darle el gafete para que lo escanee, ¿correcto? El del PITA, ¿trabajan juntos del mismo servidor o del mismo, si se llega a caer ahorita el sistema, se cae el de los dos o son sistemas separados?
Son separados, no se puede dejar de poner, se tiene que hacer bueno, le llaman ahí trabajar en contingencia, ¿sí? Pero se tiene que hacer el cambio de pita, sí. Puede decir, traigo pita, no funcionó, pero traigo... Porque se tiene que hacer la modificación en ese instante, pues, del sistema, a fin de... Porque no se puede hacer de aquí, no lo puedo manejar yo de aquí, sino que tiene que venir el técnico, es el que lo hace, y no estamos facultados la aduana para realizar ese tipo de trabajo, por cuestiones de garantía, por cuestiones de que es un trabajo que es no otra cosa que abrir una llave y subir un switch, ya sabes la excusa, es todo lo que se hace, o sea, lo podemos hacer, pero no lo tenemos permitido. O sea, no hay una cuestión de ver, entonces, son cosas que se están viendo para trabajar.
Gracias.
Sí.
¿Alguien más con una pregunta?
Gracias, señora. Yo sé que tenemos una junta o tuvimos una junta hace unos días. No sé si era con usted, no era con él, ¿verdad, Ms. Limón?
No.
Sí, estuvimos trabajando, tratando de hablar de este lado y que si ustedes necesitaban ayuda o algo que estaba pasando. Y ustedes tenían una pedida. Cosa que hay horas del día que hay mucho tráfico, que todas las trocas van sobre las 5 hasta las 9 de la tarde o algo así. Ustedes estaban pidiendo si nosotros podemos mandar trocas más durante todo el día. De este lado, porque ellos tienen horas del día cuando no hay nada de troca. Y luego ya pasa la tarde y ahí se montonan, ¿verdad? Y ustedes tienen un poquito de difícil Entonces, es como está la puente más, ¿cómo se dice? Que usa más de todo. Va como en 4 horas del día. Es difícil para ellos también, porque si algo pasa con su sistema, aquí tengo de regidora para Distrito 7, es de si tenemos que hablar una ambulancia, las trocas para llegar a la gente, porque pues a lo mejor la calle no está, la troca moviendo despacito, es que no están moviendo
No.
a horas, ¿verdad? Y es el problema que nosotros tenemos, entonces queremos traer a ellos a industria, a ver si pueden hacer un cambio, a lo mejor mandar trocas. Estoy diciendo bien, pero para ayudar a ellos también que no los tienen todos en.
Y es el 99%, si no es que el 100% de los transfers son ciudadanos de Nuevo Laredo, son personas que viven en Nuevo Laredo. Por decirlo, el primer embarque que ellos traen es de Nuevo Laredo a Laredo, Texas. Y ellos, pues eso se toma tiempo de cruzar. Y sí, como transportistas, pues sí quisiéramos utilizar las importaciones a las 9 de la mañana, pero es apenas cuando apenas vienen cruzando los camiones. Eso es un tema logístico más que nada, en mi punto de vista, porque pues tienen que venir. Ese es el problema que ocasiona esto.
Como cambiando las horas del puente sería una solución.
Adelante.
El problema también es el tema logístico del camión del día a día, pero el tema logístico y depende del cliente, del importador o del proveedor, del dueño de la mercancía que la está vendiendo, a que te mande. Llega a las bodegas 9, 10, 11 de la mañana, lo que va a cruzar el mismo día, y empiezas a trabajar los papeles y están listos a las 2, 3, 4, 5 de la tarde. Por lo que sea una operación muy repetitiva que no va llegando, está yendo. Pero el 70-80% es operación. Proceso de 2 a 4 horas. Pero aunque abramos la bodega a las 7 de la mañana o a las 6, y aunque el puente abra a las 6 de la mañana, lo del mismo día va a cruzar en la tarde. La otra cosa es, bueno, dejarlo de la tarde para el día siguiente. Pero bueno, ya al final atrasas la cadena logística del cliente más, ¿no? Porque si uno cruza a las 7, 8, 9, 10 de la noche, sale en carretera Monterrey, Saltillo o San Luis o México, pues puede llegar a las 9, 10, 11 de la mañana, 2, 3 de la tarde. Si ya te esperas un día más, entonces este también es un tema logístico, administrativo entre el dueño de la mercancía y los papeles. Usar 9, 10, 11, 12 del día, ¿no? Cuando no hay fila, pero pues dependemos desgraciadamente de 3 diferentes partes para que nos den los documentos que se requieran.
Sí, es una parte de lo que es en operación ahí en plataforma. Y hice mi estadística por ahí. A partir de el primer rojo que cae, por decirlo así, es a las 8:15. Entonces en plataforma están y se empiezan a juntar. Entonces sí hay carga, transporte que entra temprano. Pero hay muchos vehículos que cruzan vacíos. De hecho, son los primeros que empiezan a cruzar. De aquí para allá son los vacíos. Entonces, no sé, efectivamente. Sí, porque es una gama de cuestiones que se tienen que ver, ¿no? O sea, no depende. Todos poner un poquito más. Y hablando de todo, no únicamente agencias aduanales, sino transportistas, aduana y los principales pues, importadores. Porque las cuestiones que nos dicen es de que ellos están en quieren su vehículo que salga ese día y que lo quieran tal día. Pues realmente deben de entender que a veces será posible, en ocasiones no será posible. Pero si aprovechamos esos viajes de vacío que empiezan en la mañana, pues podríamos mejorar. Y la otra cuestión es de que esos vehículos que les tocó revisión, discúlpenme, pero los dependientes aduanales no se encuentran presentes. Entonces empezamos a verificar su mercancía a las 11 de la mañana y el vehículo está parado ahí desde las 8 de la mañana, ahí en plataforma. Entonces, nos va alargando, o sea, se va alargando, se hace, ahí también tenemos nuestra dosificación de recurso humano para la cuestión de que si tenemos poco transporte, pues tenemos poco personal y lo juntamos donde se nos aglomera la cantidad, se nos junta la cantidad de transporte.
Mr. Venezuela.
Y mire, yo creo que tenemos un mundo de necesidades respecto del transporte y podríamos aquí tardarnos mucho tiempo viendo todos los problemas que hay, ¿no? Que si el personal en la aduana escasea en las mañanas y los despachos son más lentos, que porque tiene poco personal. Yo creo que yo me quedaría con DODA, me quedaría con la presentación de DODA y me quedaría también con una comunicación más estrecha con la directora de puentes para que podamos inmediatamente que haya algún percance en el sistema, una contingencia, pues saber de este lado qué hacer, ¿no? Si mandar la policía a cuidar las calles, o sea, la comunicación para nosotros creo que ahorita es vital. Ya todos los demás problemas, pues yo creo que los podríamos tratar con tiempo, porque
Sí, claro.
cada agencia también tiene diferentes necesidades, cada bodega tiene diferentes necesidades, y plantearlos aquí me gustaría enfocarnos más al DODA, ¿no? Gracias, Mr.
Yo
Francisco.
tengo una pregunta que se compone de dos partes. Tengo una inquietud y tengo una sugerencia. La pregunta es, los cruces que nos dice que estamos esperando tener para finales de diciembre, de 20 a 24 mil cruces diarios, ¿cuántos son de importación a México y cuántos son de exportación de México?
Ahora tenemos la cantidad para hacerlo más o menos del porcentaje. No sabría decirle la cuestión, pero si nos basamos en los datos que tenemos actuales, ahorita tenemos más o menos una cifra de entre 6,000 y 7,000 de importación hacia México, y el resto sería de entre 4,000 más o menos, de 4 o 5 de México hacia Estados Unidos. Más o menos tenemos un poco más el porcentaje de importación hacia México.
Ok, la inquietud es, menciona las fallas cuando un transportista no presenta la documentación correcta. ¿Ya están trabajando en algún protocolo para que no tengan que reiniciar todo el sistema y podamos agilizar esa parte que inmediato cuando no levante la información, el pita que automáticamente se mueve y no perdamos tantos minutos ahí?
Okay. Por ahí mencionaba algo muy bueno que hicieron y lo comentamos en la mañana, la cuestión del tope que tienen para mantener esa distancia. Es magnífica esa idea, porque la forma que tenemos los sensores en la parte del piso, pavimento, y los sensores tienen que resetearse. Entonces, si tenemos presencia, no se puede resetear. El reseteo se hace de inmediato en cuanto no está el vehículo. En lo que tardamos es en hacer el vehículo hacia atrás y resetear el sistema. Pero si no estuviera el vehículo, si se hace de inmediato hacia atrás, deja libre, pues entonces una solución muy buena sería poner esos topes, esas cuestiones para que espérate y pásale. Sí.
Y por último, una recomendación. No sé si sería posible o sería factible, más bien dicho, el tener un monitoreo en línea en alguna página donde nos diga en qué estatus está el sistema PITA, cuánto es la línea de espera, o que tengamos alguna información que sea disponible para tanto transportistas como agentes aduanales, como para toda la ciudad, para que si van a usar esas vías que se congestionan, puedan checar, así como checamos los puentes, de cuánta fila hay y a qué horas puedo cruzar o a qué horas me puedo mover. ¿Está contemplado algo, como decimos acá, un dashboard para estatus de tiempos o de sistema caído?
Yo creo que sí es factible la cuestión que sea, porque si tenemos ya un tiempo de cruce, de lectura de los gafetes y el cruce del vehículo, se hizo un ejercicio aquí con una empresa aquí en Estados Unidos. Desde el momento que sacó registraron el gafete y se le dio salida en la aduana mexicana, tardó 15 minutos en cruzar desde ahí hasta que salió toda esa prácticamente nada, y ahí se hizo todo el proceso, se estuvo monitoreando. Si tenemos esa cuestión de ya un tiempo, vamos a ponerle que no sean así como de 0 segundos, 5 segundos, que sean 15 segundos, ¿sí? Vamos a ponerle trabajar sobre 15 segundos, ¿sí? Si tenemos esos 15 segundos por ahí, pues sí podemos sacar una estadística, más o menos cuánto es lo que avance, con las dimensiones de los vehículos, de los tractocamiones, ¿sí? La estándar obviamente, podemos ver el alargamiento que tenemos de la fila, y sí se podría, realmente me lo llevo, contamos con una cámara, pero es una cámara de vigilancia, podríamos tener que se ponga otra cámara para llevar a cabo la separación. Entonces, haciendo esa medición, yo pienso que en un futuro sí se podría hacer. Y sí, también existe ya la comunicación con la señorita Limón para tener la cuestión de estar informando cuando hay un problema. Desgraciadamente, pues estamos adaptándonos apenas a ese sistema. Con personal de transportistas también se les manda un comunicado, sobre todo cuando hay que se tiene una falla, también se les informa, ¿sabes qué? Tenemos falla general, se nos fue el sistema, y sí está funcionando por la cuestión de que antes pitaban mucho, se para y pitaban mucho y ahorita ya dejaron de pitar. Sí, o sea, es que ya saben por qué, porque en ocasiones empiezan a pitar porque otros se van metiendo o X cosa, ¿no? Entonces no sabemos si fue por un accidente o cuestiones o algún imprevisto. Pero ya cuando es la cuestión de que es una caída del sistema, se les informa en los WhatsApp, en las redes, en los grupos, tanto aduanas como transportistas. Si algunos por acá, por esta parte, no están por ahí, con mucho gusto los podemos anexar para que sepan también cuándo tenemos ese problema, independientemente de que se les siga comunicando aquí a la señorita Limón. Y el contacto también con Javi Vázquez, que también se les dice, ¿sabes qué? Pues tenemos falla de sistema, y creo que hay buena coordinación al respecto.
Muchas gracias. Dice Maldonado.
Una última pregunta, Madam Chairman. ¿Qué pasa en un cruce de Nuevo Laredo a Laredo, Texas, si se cae el sistema de aduana americana? ¿Qué pasa CBP? ¿Qué hace CBP si se le cae el sistema? ¿Hace la fila también, detiene el puente hasta que regrese el sistema, todo hasta el lado mexicano?
No, lo que pasa en Laredo, Texas, cuando se cae el sistema, la aduana emite lo que le llamamos un conditional release. Da unas liberaciones de carga temporales hasta que el sistema se restablece para desfogar lo que es la carga del puente. Las cargas tienen la obligación de irse a las bodegas y de quedarse local por si la aduana demanda la mercancía para inspeccionarla. Pero lo que hacen es desfogar el puente, sacar las mercancías y dejarlas hasta que se restablezca el sistema. Una vez que se restablece el sistema, nosotros como agentes aduanales recibimos la liberación de la mercancía y puede irse a destino.
¿Está usted familiarizado con ese sistema?
No lo cogía, pero ya lo noté.
No, pues me imagino que ha de ser muy raro que se le haga una fila porque en el lado americano se quedó el sistema. ¿Qué tan lejos está México, la aduana de ustedes, con todo respeto, de prender algo así? hacer un sistema igual a lo que hace Estados Unidos.
Yo creo que ahí el detalle es la confiabilidad de los importadores en México, de que a lo mejor, porque trabaja muy diferente. Estados Unidos garantiza los impuestos a través de una fianza y en México los tienes que pagar por adelantado. Entonces, ahí te demuestra la confiabilidad de un importador en Estados Unidos contra México. Entonces, si los dejan irse con la carga, a lo mejor no van a quedarse, no tienen esa confianza de que van a respetar el quedarse, o que la carga no se va a despachar y ya va a desaparecer. Yo creo que es más enfocado a eso, que el SAT no ha entrado a un sistema como el de Estados Unidos.
No hay bodegas del lado mexicano.
Aparte.
No, perdón, no van a, bueno, vienen a patios de los transportistas. Igual aquí hay, igual en Nuevo Laredo. O sea, la mayor parte de las...
Pero la legislación no lo permite porque, de hecho, digo, antes si hubiese un 26 todavía lo pueden tener, pero en cuanto sale la aduana ya la mercancía queda nacionalizada. Cuando mucho igual podrían mandar los amarillos, pero pues también se le va a llenar también la aduana, ahí no sería solución.
No, pero nosotros como transportistas, yo como transportista americano, si me llega una carga y el operador nos trae el conditional release.
Pero eso es acá, pero allá, o sea, legalmente no hay forma de detener, o sea, una vez que sale la aduana ya la mercancía...
Aquí existe una fianza, en México no. Todo está afianzado.
No hay forma.
No hay forma de hacer eso allá, pero pues igual habría que buscar alguna medida.
Es una buena sugerencia para el día que no haya sistema, pues...
¿Alguna otra pregunta? Muchas gracias por acompañarnos y gracias por su explicación. Esperemos reunirnos pronto para poder darle seguimiento a todas las sugerencias y al programa, cómo va evolucionando.
Pues muchísimas gracias a ustedes. Le hago llegar las inquietudes al administrador y tanto a él como a lo que es administración central para tomar las medidas que tengan.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Moving on with the next item, discussion with the possible action on applying a penalty to commercial ABI account holders for insufficient funds resulting in due turns and any other matters incidents thereto. Any discussions on the topic?
Well, Ms. Limon is going to present some data for
sorry.
that
Yeah.
topic.
Yes. Yvette Limon again for the record. Yes, staff will be providing you the data as from the previous meeting. We were to provide you data for the insufficient fund U-turns that we had in June. And we will also now provide you the information for July. We will go ahead and hand it out. I'll kind of start making reference to it. In June, the month of June, we had a total commercial crossings of 194,447. Out of those, we had 476 U-turns. And getting a percentage of the U-turns to the crossings for the month, it's a 0.24%. It's a small amount. If you compare accounts, we had 3,669 commercial accounts, 351 accounts that had U-turns, a percent of 9.57. And the breakdown was, staff analyzed it, and we had one account that had 7 U-turns on the whole month. We had 6 accounts that had 5 U-turns. We had 5 accounts that had 4 U-turns. 12 accounts that had 3 U-turns, 56 accounts that had 2, and 271 accounts that had 1 U-turn. So the majority of them have 1 no funds U-turn. Nonetheless, it does affect and disrupts the flow of traffic. We have provided letters to the drivers so that they could see all the options that we have to make deposits. And they're like, we already got it, take it again. So we had staff, every time they had a U-turn, we'd give them that notice, Aside from that, I know Pro 8 News ran a special report on this topic. And for the month of July, as you can see there, they decreased. We had 447 U-turns, of 0.23%. just the breakdown also, so you can see the majority of them had one no funds U-turn. The one account that had 7 U-turns in June is the same customer that had 7 U-turns in July. Staff continues to call them and notify them of this situation so that they can kind of deposit in accordance to their crossings. The other account holders were different, but you see more or less the pattern. But we will continue to remind our customers of all the options there are to deposit into their accounts. They can do it in our customer service centers. At Bridge 2, we have like a night box, a drop box that they can do it through in the evening, and then the next day they post it to their account. They can do it over the phone. They can do it online. There's a lot of ways of them depositing into their account. The other suggestion was to put sensors in the checkpoint. We checked with our toll collection system provider, which is Transcore. We cannot put a sensor at the checkpoint because then it won't work when they get to the lane. We have a sophisticated toll collection system that has the weigh in motion working together with the toll collection. So the way we have the setup in the lanes, it goes through the weigh in motion. The system weighs and counts the axles, sends the message to the toll booth. The antenna reads their tag, checks for funds in the account, and they go. I mean, the majority of them have funds. It's just these few that don't, that at some point do cause a disruption to the flow of traffic. We're looking also, Transcore is also looking into the possibility of sending SMS messages, which are like text messages. We currently are able to send emails to the account holders, but they're looking into what it would take for them to implement and what it would cost the city to allow SMS messages to the account holders to send a text. We're looking into every opportunity to reduce the U-turns. As of August, we had, how many? How many U-turns so far in August?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but the number has been reduced from what we've seen the prior 2 months.
So hopefully our campaign to educate our drivers to notify the account holders to deposit will continue to work. But here, for your suggestions and directives, if you want us to continue monitoring this and continue have bridge staff continue notifying these account holders to deposit funds, and then report back to you again the next meeting, if that's the wishes of the committee.
For the record, I would like to add a little analysis we did and your information, because we base it on percentage. It's a really, really low percentage at the end of the day because we're a high volume port. But we calculated those 440, 450 U-turns. If you want the 30, it's still 15 to 20 instances per day. We based our numbers on the report that we had a visual reporter taking the whole process of it happens.
Right.
I think we counted about 10 minutes that took the U-turn. Was 10 minutes approximately? 10 minutes?
Right.
So we did on a daily basis, the traffic gets stuck 150 to 200 minutes backed up, 9 to 2, okay, doesn't really matter. 2, 3, 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. You're gonna have an influx about 10 to 12 trucks per minute getting into the lane. So you stop it for 150 minutes a day. That's you're cutting off 1,500 trucks on a daily basis that are stalled in that circuit. And I think that's what we should focus on, and the big impact that creates. So Ms. Vanessa Perez is the one that gets the first eye of it and or her constituents in District 7, the first. And of course, all of us mostly are involved with commercial trade, and we feel that, you know, our trucks, our shipments are delayed. So at the end of the day, you're delayed 200 minutes, you know, at 9, 10, 11 p.m. at night because of the delay during the day. So I think I would like to bring that into the record or state it somewhere whenever we use this information to present it forward, because the 0.23% is, I think, it's insignificant, and anybody who sees it will probably just, okay, well, let us know when it gets to 5 or 10%. But the 200 minutes, 150 to 200 minutes a day, I think that's a real problem that's causing a delay in that sense.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, David.
Just a couple of questions on this, and just to add on as well. Do you have a credit card on file for these individuals as well, so they can kind of withdraw the funds, or is no credit card an option?
Some do. We do have what we call the credit card replenishment program. And what this is the account holder can choose to leave a credit card on file and set a threshold and say, when my account balance goes below, let's say $100, charge my credit card $500, $1,000, $5,000, depending. There's big and small account holders. And then we do have that option, and we do have customers enrolled, so that it's automatic. They don't even have
Two
to
suggestions
worry.
on it then. If taking consideration, if you get on this list, you say you don't have an option, you have to have the credit card on file, just to make sure they're always funded, to avoid this kind of situation, avoid a U-turn. Number two is maybe create a penalty lane, just to also have them, if you know that they're already on the list, to go out there to the least evasive lines, not bother them, and just have one line that would be affected if they go out there and continue doing it. But in addition to that, the recommendation of what this board offers as well, in addition, maybe include a penalty, you know, a staggering penalty. And also on the last two lines, are they repeated violators, or is it just one time the individuals taking consideration the volume of trucks that cross? Like for each month, like 271 and 209.
The
Are they just
271
individ-
just are not.
So it just happens one time and they stop doing it. They won't do it again.
For whatever reason, they didn't, the driver got there before they made the deposit, or,
So we should really focus on the top percentage and sit there and make sure those individuals, hey, you know what, you guys are gonna be on this line until you guys fix your problem, and have that credit card on file. I mean, that's just two options. I think that would really assist and alleviate some of the situations.
Is this, most of the U-turns at the same time, at the peak traffic time, or do we have a statistics on
Throughout.
what time is?
throughout the day. It's just random time throughout the day.
Sure.
Yes.
I have a question, because we're focusing only on the 0.23%, and as Milo mentioned, it's really a lot more than that. We have 3,700 accounts. 10% of those almost are the ones that are having this issue.
Right.
So making it mandatory to have a credit card on file will be a lot more efficient. Also, let's say we have this issue when the custom systems fails in the US, and you just send them to the warehouses and wait. Well, why not invoice them at twice the amount they would pay if they had funds? And make sure that they get those invoices. If they don't pay, just like any utility, you just don't get to cross. Make them accountable, not just expect them to comply when obviously they're not complying, especially the ones that are repeat offenders.
We'll look into these suggestions.
Yes, Mr. Dominguez.
So some of the people don't have credit cards, they pay with checks because you charge them 4%. If they take a check of $20,000.
Not with a check.
Huh?
Not with a check. The only convenience fee that is charged is when they use a credit card online or over the phone. If they go in person to our customer service center and they pay with a credit card, they don't pay the 3% convenience fee.
So you can pay with a credit card.
You can
If
pay with
don't-
credit
you don't
card,
charge any
And
percentage.
there's no charge.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
the
in the
one that-
automatic
I'm
thing,
sorry.
When it's done in person.
But when
If
it's,
it's,
If it's,
but if it's on,
if
it's on
done
file,
through if it's done through the
Replenishment.
replenishment program, it does charge the 3% because it's an automated. And we
That's one
pay
of the
for the
issues
service
of-
of it being an automated payment.
that's one of the issues of a transfer company that pays a lot of 10,000, 15,000 in one check because of that.
Right.
But I like to, I would like to make some comments as to non-monetary penalties that you can do is just send them back. Every time you send them until they get dizzy of going back and forth. The other one is for the drivers, since it's only 209 that do it once, maybe they can have an envelope with the 1850 that can drop it off and just take off, so they don't have to do that U-turn. The third one is to Transcorp that has the contract with the city to do a sub-account where the driver can log in and just get at least the balance of the account so they don't get in line. That would help a lot. So if they have a zero account balance, they shouldn't even get in line. So.
Right, right.
And the last one is the penalty amount would be for traffic. I mean, we have 2 police people there. If they, 3 now, okay.
Well, we've had for a
So
couple of years.
if there's someone that really doesn't have the money, then you call PD, they'll give them a ticket for impeding traffic, and that starts at $326. And that would be,
That would stop
and
right
you don't have to worry about it and send them an invoice, but those are my
for police
suggestions. Thank you.
officers.
Thank you.
And during this year's budget, they authorized an additional for the port police. Have to oversee the U-turns, but we'll look into all of these suggestions that you're
Those
making.
302 is like $98,000 right there.
Mr. Maldonado, and then
Finish the agenda items.
And can we extend, or do we have to take it to the other meeting?
Or are we allowed to do that?
Is it timed?
there's a motion. Second by Mr. Jean Lindegren. Votes in, any discussions? Votes in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Prida votes. Minutes. Mr. Teach?
Yeah. Getting in the point where we have like 0.24%, it looks like a small number, but the thing is the incidents, and if we measure time and loss in than that, the money that has been held out, than that number that we're seeing here. So the easiest way is to put a fine. They have like each account holder knows how to manage their accounts. It's their responsibility to have money in it. So if we just like put a fine, like let's say 3 crossings every time they go over the pounds, that will solve the issue. And I assure you that these repeated accounts that are here right now, next month, they won't appear if they held a fine. So it's an easy way out if we measure this, and there are much more losses in the traffic and what's held out, and the city has to put like 3 officers, and then the U-turn. It's a whole lot of mess, and then if we just like put a fine on them, they will not make it again.
Mr.
Can I go after
Richard?
Mr.? No,
Okay,
Mr.
Mr.
Negocio goes first.
Directly want, in order to be a transfer company, you need to, have a driver with a visa, register with the Fideicomiso or Codefron, register with the Laredo Bridge System. You need to meet a profile. And if we can zoom in on these offenders, maybe we can, again, what I was trying to discuss on the last meeting, trying to set up a profile, a minimum profile to those companies that need to meet a minimum requirement, a mandatory credit card, a minimum balance with the company, with the bridge system, in order to avoid as much as possible this situation. Because even though it's a minimum amount, concerning with the amount of crossing that we have per month, the impact, along with the PITA problem, along with the peak hours, it's really hurting the city. So I suggest that we should put a minimum minimum requirement on a profile depending on the transportation company. if we can, and again, if we can zoom in on these offenders, maybe we can do a much better suggestion, if that's the case.
That's a good idea.
Mr. Richard?
Yes, just coming back to the data, and I think the fine and everything we do, just so we can see, 270 and 209 on first offenders. And I think, I really think maybe once, even if you mess up once a year, you're gonna be on that list. But 270 people or accounts are probably messing up. Since we don't have the data to cross-reference, if it's the same ones that at least once a month they mess up, I think our biggest problem is way smaller than it is. And like I said, like Mr. Jose was saying, I think that's what we need. The city has to control who you let have an account and what are your minimum profile for that account. Because at the end, going back to a fine, you're gonna get rid of maybe the first ones and the 7, the 5, and the 4, because it's gonna hurt them in their pocket. But you're getting rid of 20, 30 U-turns. We need to get rid of the 209 U-turns, which I think is for what it looks like, it's a one-time offense, is a administrative error that could happen one time a year, but it does create, again, 200 minutes a day and backlog. But I think that right there, the system has an in hand to see the ball in their court, to see how you could make sure that if you want to be registered and use our system, a minimum balance is always there, and you always have to have a credit card. Even the smallest company that's doing transfer has to have a credit card. They're running a couple $1,000 a day business at the end of the day. It's not, they're not getting paid in cash. We don't do that anymore. No, I don't think nobody pays transfer service in cash. Well, 0.00001%. But I'm saying is, and that's the profile in 2021 that we need from our logistics suppliers.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Maldonado and JD.
If I have a transfer company and I have a credit card on file, it is up to me to decide when you get to charge it, or would it be, I agree with the credit card on file for everyone. I agree, whatever card you have on file, but then, does that mean that as soon as they go to a certain number, then you automatically charge it? Or, because you may have to structure that attached with that, not only have a card on file, but as soon as you see that there's not even enough money for a 5-axle crossing, you immediately charge them something to avoid the whole backup. That would be my suggestion. And if they don't want to pay the fee, then go pay the normal way without the fee, with a check on time or with their card on your hand physically before it gets to it. So you can avoid the 3% fee if you organize correctly everything. But if you don't, then the card will be there and you don't stop the traffic at least.
Well, we encourage, when we have new account holders or accounts that run negative, we encourage them to enroll in the auto replenishment, but it is not forced. They have to choose to enroll in the auto replenishment program.
Maybe it's something that you need to change.
We
Maybe
will.
everyone has to have a card on file, regardless. And I can have one and never use it because I go and deposit my check every week.
Right.
But everyone, maybe you need to change that and just make sure that everyone has one on file. Like they said, 271 and 209. That's the big problem. Of course, the guy, the offender, that the one account that had 7 U-turns twice. Well, yeah, that also needs to be addressed. But
Well, he needs a personal call.
yes. So, but the over 200 ones, those are the ones that you want to make sure they have a card on file, and as soon as they don't have the balance for one crossing, then you charge it, and you charge
Mr.
them the
Gonzalez
fee.
and then Ms. Perez.
Just to reiterate as well, like you stated, this shouldn't be an option. If they were on this list, make it mandatory. That's just to eliminate this problem immediately. Number 2, I know we're talking about World Trade Bridge, but does Columbia have the same problem or no?
They do, but not as many because the volume is not as high as it is at World Trade.
Can you provide numbers as well or no?
We'll do Columbia first. We'll look at Columbia and we'll email you the information.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna make a comment here, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit. So, if you look at U-turns are from account holders, but that still leaves 30-some% of the U-turns that are not people that have accounts with us. So maybe it happens that it's a truck that's like maybe coming by for one time out of the year, or we don't know the situation, right? My gut here is telling me that the problem probably lies with the way that they have to pay, because anytime you talk about adding 3% or 4% fees, I don't want to pay fees, right? So maybe we need to look at a system where they can put money, and also if they put the money in the account and it doesn't get used, do we refund it to them, or do they get penalized, or do they lose it? So that's where we kind of have to look and see, maybe the problem lies with the way that the options that they have to pay, because I'm not in this industry, but if I have a truck coming through, maybe I don't know how to pay for this particular bridge, and then I say, okay, well, just pay when you get there. Because 209 accounts, not with accounts, like one-timers, right? So it looks to me like the majority of the offenders are the one-timers. Like either they have an account and it happens once, or they don't have an account, so that would be the only time, right? So we're not tracking, but for some reason, like for example, like with our Metro bus, right? You have to have exact change to ride the bus. So I think that our bus needs to be more like up to date with how people can pay. So here, if people are not paying and they're not putting money, there has to be a problem there, because if it's that simple to just put the money, people would do it. So we have to be charging them too much or on a fees, like maybe do through your bank account, it's free. But if you do through your credit card, there's a fee. Maybe we can give them the option where they don't have to pay that fee. And if they're, because like Mr. Dominguez said, if you're paying 10,000, 20,000, 3%, 4%, that's a big amount of. And without there having to be a fee, because we don't collect the fee, that's an outside, we're just making some other outside entity richer with our.
The city,
No,
that 3%
it's
is
for the
the
city.
city ordinance, and that goes for utilities. If you do an online payment for your water bill, you pay the 3% convenience fee. It's a citywide taxes, anything that you do online, you have that 3% convenience fee, because we pay the third-party process for those.
And have some flexibility without having to charge, because I think that, I think that might be a problem, is that, I think people are not putting money in for a reason, but I definitely think if they're a repeat offender, we should.
Customers are customers with an account. These are not people coming to the bridge with absolutely no account whatsoever. They have an account.
What's the biggest?
Deposit 60,000, big checks, big checks.
Mr. Frida, any comments?
But because
No, we're good.
102.
Thank you.
Members are in agreement that we should have a credit card on file, and if the user don't want to pay that 3%, that would on their account.
Exactly.
So I think the best
That would be the
recommendation
best
is forced to have a credit card on file, and if you don't have to be charged for the 3% balance, that we can put like two tolls or 3 tolls as a minimum balance, so they can never.
Look at that.
Good idea.
Yep, to have like a little savings in the account and depositing however they normally deposit, but have that somehow that security. They have that money there, they can use it and then replenish it later. So we'll look at that. We'll run can enforce them, and when customers open an account, they know that these are gonna be the requirements, so that we don't continue them to also set up the credit card.
Mr. Linder.
Yeah, just one minor comment, suggestion. At the risk of some people seeing the data and looking at .23, I would suggest to consider putting an estimated delay minutes per day. Mr. Rish per day, or 12 events per day, it might get a little bit more impact and again, minimize the risk of it being just.
Thank you. Any more comments? Ms. Limon, any comments?
Ms. Lim, involve an app, if we can develop an app for the can have information. I think we need to move forward so all the drivers can have an app.
Okay, they can currently use their phone to computer. It doesn't necessarily have to be an app. They can already log in through the use of the internet to the LaredoTradeTag.com and make a deposit to their account. But we'll look into, I mean, if
Yes, but with the in the mobile, they can deposit through PayPal, Venmo, or whatever they need. So it has to be more accessible. So I will kindly ask if we can put some development for any app for this.
Because we don't want to give the login information, because there's credit cards and a lot of information, and it's a lot of drivers in some companies. But is there a way that tag number instead of the account number?
no, it's similar to like a bank account. If a driver goes to the customer service center or calls, the staff is gonna ask, provide me the PIN. If they have the PIN, then they provide them a balance. If they don't have a PIN, they don't disclose the information.
Okay.
When they get their receipt, the balance is shown on the receipts. It's similar to like a bank account.
Because the balance is for the whole account, not just for that single tag.
Right.
So you can see the balance for the.
But
whole
all the tags in the
Yeah.
account.
It can be one or.
Any more comments, Ms. Mo?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Moving on, item number 4. At Wall Street Bridge to include a diversion to Columbia Solidarity Bridge when warrant for the
Yes, this item came about and asking the committee to provide your comments or suggestions and look at this option. As you heard, the folks from SAT for example, 6, 7 o'clock, I monitor the cameras constantly. There was no movement. It's like, okay, I waited a minute, I waited 2 minutes. And the communication that, as Councilmember Perez mentioned, as a result of our meeting we had last week, I start messaging them. It's like, okay, I don't see movement. I haven't seen movement in 2 minutes. What's going on? And right away they, oh, no, Laredo lost no hay electricidad.
Yeah, power.
It's like, okay, so I message Councilmember Perez, PD, everybody. So they go into contingency. They send the port police, additional police units if needed, and it causes backup all the way on Loop 20 to the flyovers. Yesterday was not too long, but 1 minute of no movement will stack it up because they're all coming in, and unfortunately, it's during our peak time. It happens. So they started kind of moving the empties, and then they're working on it, and luckily it didn't take too long, but yet it caused a backup. I also monitor, as I monitor our cameras, I monitor the TxDOT cameras. And those tell you where the line is. I see the Loop 20 at Mines, I see the Loop 20 at Cabos, and that's like to the flyover. So we're wanting your suggestions or your thoughts as to when that happens, if it's for a long period of time and Colombia is not experiencing any issues, kind of get us directive to kind of force them to go through Colombia to avoid the congestion on Mines and on Loop 20, because it's gone all the way to Cheddar's, past HEB Plus. It's bad, and unfortunately, the drivers don't go themselves to Colombia. They just wait there.
Yeah.
Mr. Richard, you're good to explain this.
I think we would be the most efficient and #1 port if we could actually, in a matter of bam, redirect traffic to Colombia. And in that sense, when everything's stuck, sadly, in Laredo, Texas, it's one bridge under one system, Laredo Bridge System. In Mexico, it's a total different customs port. So our paperwork, the Mexican customs paperwork, is already pre-assigned to a specific port from way before it gets printed. Before it gets it's paid. Our port, and it would be great, even if it's always in contingency. Colombia could just turn on the switch and I can accept Laredo paperwork. Sadly, also, it's a 45-minute longer run that at the end it's a cost that you're gonna have to put to the customer. So you need to ask the customer, hey, we got a delay here. Can I charge you $40, $50 more? If it's urgent, to send you to Colombia, change the paperwork. So it's probably a good quick hours to change paper that you're about to do or change the instruction. But also once it's paid and processed, we can't change bridges and delete it and do it again because payment money already went to a specific account in Mexico to pay the duties. There's been some instances where on the longer run, of course, when you have the hurricanes or longer, something happens and it's gonna be an 8-10 hour thing. Colombia does have a system where it probably takes a couple hours to be, we put the switch on and all the Laredo paperwork can come through Colombia, but it does take, it's not a 1 minute thing, so it takes probably an hour, 2 or 3. So on small things, I think it's really hard. On larger instances where we're gonna be shut down for many hours, I think we've done it before, and I know Luzbach and the Mexican Association has worked together with Mexican Customs, help us out, and it happens, and it's done. But yeah, we would love that. I think everybody would love that. And of course, if that bridge was parallel to it, like 5 feet away, easier, but we do have that 45. But yeah, it's something that we have to look into and see how it works. And it's part of, what we're here and see what ideas we see that long line that forms everywhere, and Colombia's empty. But sadly, as of now, the process doesn't let us do it. But hopefully we could convince someone to do it.
What about the empties that don't have any paperwork involved or don't have any duties or?
Empties are going through, there's already a process going because of CBP, but as.
That's northbound.
That's northbound, not
We're
southbound.
talking southbound.
Yeah.
But just to add to Emilio's comments as well, as you heard earlier, SAT would have been a better answer to this. that's not even an option. They gotta work with their system, and on top of what Emilio said, it has to go to the Mexican administration, they go out there, authorize it, so it's a channel. I know it's something that we gotta work through, being the largest port, we have to sit there, look at other options, but during the meantime, we just have to deal with what we're dealt with right now, and just sit there and amongst our committee, see if we can find a viable solution, but other than just working in communication between the forwarders and just saying, hey, stop traffic, which you guys do at that time, but we gotta sit there and just stop our traffic to make sure that, hey, we can't move any forward because this creates a safety factor for all of us, and especially, if there's an accident out there, ambulance, so forth, there's not much we can really do on that, so.
Right.
Mr. Maldonado.
How do we as a committee start that now? Make Colombia process, have a booth for world trade, para la aduana 240, permanent, and leave the option open to us, the trucking companies. So if I'm sending my driver right now and the bridge system is down, leave us that option. Why can't we start that now? Make them work together. Make them have that. Let's start that communication now. And anybody that wants to go over there can do it. And anybody that wants to wait at World Trade Bridge for 5 hours, they can wait. Give the option now to the user. It may send one guy over. It may fix half of the problem. We will never know that until we try it.
State funding is a big concern, because I know most of the funding goes to the bridges, and I know that's one of the things that.
It's a contingency plan that the pedimento will already be paid to Tamaulipas, so the money will stay where it goes.
The money will stay with the city.
But it's
because
not
this
up
is
to them.
southbound.
That's the problem. It's not up to
Okay,
Colombia. It's a
Wait a
federal
minute,
law.
let's not talk at the same time, please. Ms. Limon?
Yeah, I was saying, this is southbound, so on the city side, the revenue stays with the city. I don't know what all they have to pay when they get to aduanas.
But if it's a contingency plan, I would assume the pedimento it's already paid for Tamaulipas, then the money goes to Tamaulipas.
Yeah.
Correct? We're not. This is thinking of fixing, helping us fix the flow, not to take money away from anybody. The pedimento está pagado.
I agree 100%, that's the most efficient thing, and it's an option, you could wait here for 4 hours or spend.
And people could probably just wait, and then if it never works, then nobody goes over there, then nobody goes over there. That's fine. But what can this committee do to get that going?
Mr. Miller? And then,
Well,
Mr.
the thing is that it's not really up to them. It's not up to Colombia. As from Sat just said, everything goes to Mexico City. Everything is authorized. Everything for them to open that channel to Colombia has to be done federal. It's not up to the bridge. So having to do that is talking about changing federal law in Mexico, and it's not an easy task. So we can suggest something like that, but it's only happened when Tamaulipas. We have two states, Tamaulipas and Nuevo León, and they're in constant battle to attract traffic to either of those, bridges. So it's a little bit more complicated than just having one lane. It would have to be something done at federal level for them to actually authorize that, and I have not seen it happen anywhere else in Mexico. We could start, but it is an uphill battle. It's not easy.
We could be the first ones. That's my suggestion.
Mr. Titch?
It could be a startup. I agree with his comment. We can figure out the way out and see how we can manage to leave that option open. Let's say we work for a 24-hour period in Nuevo Laredo. So the same thing we can do, have one lane for a period of time, and let's see if it works, then it can stay. We can just figure the way the things can work out and see if we can go that path.
Oh,
Right.
Miss-
I think a good start, it's through the Customs Broker Association, to start with. I think we, as far as stakeholders, CBP and the port directors for both Colombia and Nuevo Laredo this committee can get together today. We can invite them to at least lay out the ideas, because if it has worked on contingency, this port has sufficient volume. It is very important to have that as a permanent condition. And to have, like Jerry is saying, let the bridge they want to choose. So I think that's a good start, getting all the stakeholders together. That includes Alpha, Nuevo Laredo Association, Columbia Association, CBP, and both port directors. Invite them at least to have them hear us lay out that idea. And they can tell us and guide us how to, if we need to go to Mexico City, if we need to bring the Maestro Duarte or invite them. I think that Laredo, the Port of Laredo has enough leverage to at least raise their hand and say,
Right.
we need this. All right.
Just,
Mr. Gonzalez.
just to add, I mean, US Customs shouldn't be an issue because the fact is we have no diversion. It's the same thing. So we'd really have to focus more on the Mexican Customs.
Mr. Jones. and then
I
Mr.
think,
Linger.
I think it'd help a lot more too if we got the governors from the states involved to help us and back us. Then when you go to Mexico City, you have some political clout also. I think it'd help a lot.
Yes, it is.
But you gotta start someplace, he's right.
Any other matters incident there too, but I think there is a bit of a relationship. I would like the four-hour bridge during the week. I think a lot of the problems, and you gentlemen in the business also, ladies and gentlemen, could corroborate or not, there's a mad rush every night, critical shipments every night, but people don't want to get out of line. They don't want to waste those extra hours in the event that the bridge system, the SAT system comes back up. It leads to expedites, it leads to charters, it leads to customer dissatisfaction. And so we're the number one port. I know there was a trial done, a pilot, many, many years ago. Maybe it was during the Great Recession of 2008, 2009. I think it's time for us to talk about it again. Thank you.
Good idea.
Workshop to get this idea of how to, you know, to start the communication with the people needed, and then if we need to escalate it to the federal government in Mexico, then we do it. We have to use the leverage, like they said. We are Laredo, and if it's never been done, then let it be done now, and start that conversation now, and if hopefully it doesn't take.
It's more complicated.
Mr. Dueñas.
May I speak in Spanish? Es muy complicado. Son dos aduanas diferentes y no nada más estás hablando con el maestro Duarte. Nos falta Zagarpa, Agricultura, Semarnat, otras autoridades que no van a estar dispuestos a moverse ni a cambiarse ni mover sus horarios. Por ahorita lo veo muy complicado in this moment.
Agree to start the conversation with the governments and with the people, with the agentes aduanales mexicanos. I think they are the first in line. Yeah, it sounds kind of complicated, and I hope the carriers, if you take the decision to move the cargo over there, you can also get the cost covered, because maybe for you, have those trucks standing on line, it's more costly for you than cover the $50 out of your pocket. So I'm just take one from you. And there's a lot of cargo that there's no need for Zagarpa and other instances, and maybe that we as brokers, maybe the customer doesn't want to cover the cost, but to you, it's going to reflect at the end of your income for not taking the truck standing there.
The worst damage to a truck is idling time. It does the more damage to the maintenance of the vehicle. When you're turning, you're wasting diesel. But when the trucks are stopped, that is when they get damaged the most maintenance wise. So, as a trucking company, if they can be moving, it's
And the transport company, it's the one that it's crossing all those trucks, it's the one that it's stuck right there. We as a brokers provide the documents to move the cargo, but you are using that bridge, and you need to speak and say what is best to move those trucks out of the highway. So thank you for your comments. Any other comments? Ms.
No
Lamont?
comments.
Ms. Gomez.
thank everybody for your time this evening. I know that you all are very busy. I know that, you know, you all have an important role to play, but I just want to thank you for all the comments. I think it was a very productive meeting. And I think Ms. Limon can add those things to the next agenda, so we can continue the conversation, and possibly a workshop format instead of a meeting might be helpful. So we'll see what we can plan, and then we'll send it out, but just want to thank everybody so much. I'm very proud of all of you for all of your input. I really am. It's like,
And thank you for putting us together.
Oh, no, thank you.
We are already, again, running out of time. Do we have other business?
Ms. Limon, as I mentioned earlier, just the information on Colombia as well, so we can kind of take all that in consideration.
Yes,
But no other business.
I'll get that for you.
Item number 7.
Another
or-
business?
Yes, Mr. Richard.
Before we go, what will be the procedure or to get items on the agenda from our part? Do we have to vote them now to get them on the agenda, or just send them before our
Send me an
Friday deadline? And those would get, now would be to the chairman and to yourself?
Yeah.
Or do I have to send it to the whole group, or how does that work?
Right.
Yeah, you can send it
You
to the
can send it
whole
to
group.
both of us. That
Oh.
way I can kind of
Okay.
coordinate it with the chairman, with Ms. Salinas, and I'll create the agenda. We'll work together to, as the liaison for the committee, I'll work with her to get the items and the agenda ready for the next meeting.
Perfect. And then every meeting from here on is an hour and a half, that's set, and then there's a motion every 30 minutes to move them out?
We set it up as, at an hour and a half. I know we hadn't had a committee in many years, so we have a lot of ideas and a lot of energy. So it's taking us a little longer, but with time, I guess our meetings will kind of stay within the hour and a half, and if need be, we'll extend it the half hour to 8.
Thank you.
I think the bylaw says that we have to get together every 2 months, but we talked in the last meeting that we have together like more often, not wait that much time. So the schedule, to schedule the next meeting date, do we have any suggestions on the table?
Today, Tuesday, sometimes it's a little complicated at the beginning of the week. I suggested we do them in the middle, let's say Wednesdays, which is a little bit better for some of us.
Wednesday is better.
I concur.
What about Wednesday next month?
Let's say, first, you wanna meet once a month, or you wanna meet twice a month?
Once a month.
Once a
is
month,
fine.
okay.
Once a month.
Once a month, please.
So I'm gonna take a motion from Mr. Miner to meet on Wednesday, once a month. And is the time is correct for 6 p.m. for everyone?
Yeah.
Motion by Mr. Miner?
What
Second by
Wednesday,
Mr.
you said which Wednesday of the month? Is every third, fourth?
Every,
We have to check when, Chambers is available.
okay, it's gonna be pending what Wednesday of the month, but it will be a Wednesday, at 6 p.m., once a month.
So for now, can we suggest either the 15th or the 22nd, depending on availability?
I would suggest the
had-
15th because of the fact we're going to be in meetings in DC on the 22nd. So.
Okay. We had talked about the festivities
That's,
with the September 16th
more-
holiday.
Uh-huh.
So
Maybe the 29th. So.
We can
29th.
schedule it, and then if it's not available, then we can reschedule.
Okay, so motion by Mr. Miner to meet on Wednesday at 6, once a month, second by Mr. Titch. Any discussions?
No.
Votes in favor?
Aye.
No votes. No objections? I adjourn the meeting.
I think we have to motion.
Thank you,
right?
everyone.
We motion adjourn.
to adjourn.
Yeah, motion adjourn.
It both ways.
Yeah.
Second.
8 o'clock
Anyone
exactly.
opposed?
All right, good job.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, no, it's our time?